Hey guys, welcome back. Today we are going to continue talking about chaos. Sorry about that. By talking about Beastmen or Beasts of Chaos. I guess, if you don't know, chaos has sort of had this weird, it's had a weird history with its army. Originally, everything to do with chaos was in one army, so you had your warriors and your beasts and you had your demons, and they were all in one army, and they had one army book, and it all came together. Then in 5th edition, Beastmen were separated and became their own army. So then you had Hordes of Chaos, which was warriors and demons, and we will do warriors later. And then Beasts of Chaos. And then in 6th edition, Hordes was split into warriors and demons, so then you had, and beasts became, oh no, sorry, in 7th edition, Beasts of Chaos became Beastmen. Anyways, let's get right into this army book. The Beastmen are the true children of chaos, grotesque hybrids of fierce animals and primitive human. These horned and stinking warrior beasts infest the blighted forests that cover the old world. Their savage tribes explode from the depths of the haunted woods to wage bitter war against the civilized races. So profound is the Beastmen's hatred of order and reason that they seek to drag the world kicking and screaming into a barbaric and primal age. The great green orb of Moorsleep hung low in the firmament like the belly of a pregnant hag. Beneath its lambent and eerie glow, a small force of warriors waited nervously for dawn. The 300-strong Wissenbeich Schwarzhelms shoveled and stamped to keep out the chill of the early morning frost. Their proud banners hung limply, and their breath fogged in the still, damp air. Eyes darted across the mist-shrouded eaves of the haunted forest ahead. Ever since the moon had risen, all manner of disturbing noises had been emanating from the tree line. The beasts were abroad that night. Less than an hour ago, the soldiers of Wissenbeich had tracked a band of unruly, half-drunk beastmen to this point. The Schwarzhelms, veteran halberdiers all, were more than capable of dealing with sporadic groups of beastmen raiders should it come to it. Captain Heinrich slugged back a mouthful of cheap Estalian port from a wineskin. He could see a glow upon the horizon, not the glow of a burning township this time, but the slow onset of dawn. He signaled his herald to approach, giving the order to advance so they could finish the hunt. A horn sounded, but it was brash, deep, and alien, like nothing fashioned by human hands. A moment passed. Then the Beastmen army came out of the mists. It was a vision of a nightmare made real and set free upon the world. Braying, bellowing, screaming, the cloven ones poured from the forest and kept on coming, a gnashing, seething mass of muscle, hair, and pure, unadulterated hatred. They were almost clambering over each other in their haste to rend and tear and gorge. In their midst marched extravagantly horned beast things, war-chanting as they brandished totems made of stolen skin. Moonlight glinted from jagged blade and murderous eye as the horned savages came on and on. Leading the war herd were armored champions and sorcerers, primitive shamans, fell magics driving their warriors to even greater heights of fury. A great roar went up from 1,000 ragged throats as a gigantic four-armed fiend smashed its way through the forest towards them. All gaping mouths and great grasping hands. As if in answer to the call, a terrifying bellow came from the west. Bursting from the tree line came a dozen hulking minotaurs, living juggernauts of dense flesh, snorting and champing with bloodlust as they charged headlong towards the Wissenbeisch ranks, with the unstoppable momentum of a steam tank. In their wake came even more grotesque monsters, as much hellspawn as creatures of the forest, shrieking in dim-witted rage. The ground shook to the thunder of countless hoofs as the army of beasts closed in from all sides. The Wissenbeisch veterans stood agape, their guts turning to ice. Captain Heinrich glanced at the path that led back to the town walls, and saw yet more of the unclean brutes blocking their retreat. There was no escape. The beast horde opened its jaws and roared. Oh shit, I hope that wasn't too loud. Sorry about that. Origins of the Beastmen. Beastmen willingly embrace their heritage of chaos. Though they have the intelligence of a man and the base cunning of a wild animal, Beastmen lack even a shred of nobility or compassion, for since the birth of their race, they have belonged body and soul to the ruinous powers. The Beastmen carve out their lairs in the twisted forests of the old world, but they are not creatures of nature. In fact, they have very little in common with anything wholesome or natural. They are a twisted product of chaos, vile, aberrant parodies of man and beast alike, but far more vigorous and powerful than either. The Cloven Ones, as they call themselves, belong to chaos as fully as completely as a shark belongs to water, for they were born from the great catastrophe that irrevocably tainted the world with darkness. The Beastmen came into being many thousands of years ago when chaos was first unleashed into the world, and all that was normal and whole was washed away in a wave of tortured unreason. Legend tells of an elder race of beings, known only as the Old Ones, who shaped the world in a way pleasing to them, and brought the first of the young races to preeminence. Then came the event that changed history in a single terrible day. The dimensional gates at the poles of the Warhammer world, intended to facilitate astral travel, collapsed in on themselves. History does not record why, but what is known is that this allowed the stuff of chaos to flow across the veils of space and time into the world at large. It was a catastrophe beyond measure. Millions of innocent souls were lost in an instant, sucked into the void and replaced with entities far fouler. The surface of the world writhed and bled like a wounded beast. From the skies came pulsing comets of weirdling stone, contrails of unlight flaring in their wake as they plummeted toward the untamed forests. The lands were pounded and punished as if by the fists of the gods themselves. Huge chunks of solidified chaos energy, thrown from the collapsing dimensional gates, set aflame the skies. They crashed into the world like meteors, felling endless tracts of forest, and burying themselves inside massive craters of scorched earth. With each impact, the land was infected further by the raw stuff of chaos. Its insidious taint worked outwards into the fertile soil, suckled upon by the roots of ancient trees, and seeping into the air breathed by the nomads and the beasts that populated the lands. As chaos permeated all, the forests stirred, writhing with malign energies. Weird calls echoed from the trees as the woods thrashed with rampant growth. Strange and terrible processes were enacted in that dank, boiling cauldron of fecundity. The primitives of the region and the beasts of the forest were somehow mated, their terrible offspring, and mated again. Their terrible offspring born and mated again, generation after generation coming into being, indiscriminately reproducing, and eventually dying in an uncontrolled and rapid procession. Thus was the race of the Beastmen born into the world. The realm of chaos. The old world is saturated with the mutating power of magic, the stuff of chaos. It howls through the broken dimensional gate in the far north, creating and sustaining the violent and surreal land known as the Realm of Chaos. From there it permeates the entire world, perverting and transforming everything it touches into horrible new forms. This power is strongest in the immediate area around the Shattered Gateway, but further away the power of the mutating magic weakens. Because of this, the far north of the old world is home to many strange creatures distorted by the power of chaos. All manner of demons and unrecognizable monstrosities haunt these regions, yet even when the winds of magic grow strong, these unholy warriors cannot wander too far south, for the power of chaos becomes too weak to sustain them. The Beastmen have no such limitations. Though born of chaos, they are native to the forests, and the whole of the old world is their hunting ground. They wander at will, waging war upon who they please, and their endless hunt is as unrelenting as it is merciless. For the power of the Beastmen comes not from the fickle winds of magic, but from muscle, fang, and the savage spirit within. The Long War. For thousands of years, the Beastmen and their night-bred kin ruled the forest, preying upon the scattered bands of men and wolves, as wolves upon sheep. Then a man came bearing a golden hammer that was the bane of all enemies, and united the human tribes, challenging the Beastmen for dominance of the lands. This warrior elevated mankind from a collection of loosely organized tribesmen into the massive empire it is today. The time before this man is regarded by the Beastmen both as a part-remembered dream and as a legend. The Beastmen's rituals are full of references to a time when they ruled the lands unchallenged, and a time when they shall rule again. To the Cloven Ones, the War of the Hammer heralded an age of bitterness and strife in which mankind rose to undeserved and stolen power. The Beastmen of today hate mankind with a deep loathing born of uncounted centuries of battle. They seek to return to that primeval age when man was little more than a food creature, and the Beastmen the true masters of the world. For mankind's part, the Beastmen soon became creatures of horror and superstition, embodying and confirming their deepest fears of what might lurk in the forests of the old world. It is said in the legends of Bretonia that the Beastmen looked out from under the forest eaves, spying upon man, and in doing so knew their own impurity, while some scholars of the Empire hold that the beasts are jealous and resentful of man's ingenuity and cleanness of limb. Whatever the case, all men know that the Beastmen harbor a bitter hatred for humanity. This enmity goes far beyond jealousy or spite. It is not just man that the Beastmen despise so, but his civilization, his works, and his gods. As the society of man has grown more refined, and his advancements increasingly wondrous, so the Beastmen have come to loathe him all the more. To the citizens of the Empire, Bretonia, and the other nations of the Old World, the Beastmen have come to represent creatures from a half-remembered age of nightmare. Men deceive themselves that the danger is past, that they are safe in their walled towns, that their steel and gunpowder, wizards' arts, and engineers' creations will hold at bay the lowly beast things that haunt the woodlands. Men tell themselves that the creatures of the forest are disorganized and incapable of fielding armies that can threaten their crenellated, high-walled cities. They are quite wrong. To underestimate the Beastmen is a fatal mistake. The Cloven Ones are creatures of violence and conflict, and they are far more cunning than the Empire believes. Worse still, the more noble and haughty the foe, the more the Beastmen are driven to prove their own supremacy by casting him down from his lofty pedestal and trampling his body beneath blood-encrusted, filthy hooves. Though the Beastmen have no formal method of recording the passage of years, they know that the cities of mankind are new and recent, compared to the elder lands in which the Beastmen roam. Even the lowliest Ungor knows that mankind once cowered in terror of the forest and the creatures that dwelled within it, daring not to venture into the eaves of the woods. Yet stone fortresses and castles now blight the lands from end to end in defiance of the dominion of chaos. So advanced is the industry of man and the organization of his empire that keeps and watchtowers are built even in the midst of the Beastmen's territory. and yet the Beastmen know that such structures are temporary at best, and all that man has built will one day come crashing down at the Beastmen's hands. Only then will the lands once more belong to the Cloven Ones, and only then will mankind be returned to his proper place in the order of things. Pray, and nothing more. And in that time of darkness, man became beast, and beast became man. I think we are actually going to make this one a short one today, because the next section is not short. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I look forward to seeing you next time. Bye-bye.